Hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S here, back to another video. As all too often, I'm going to sleep really late here because it's nearly 2 in the morning again, so I've got to find a way to go to sleep earlier. Problem is I have too much caffeine or stuff like that at night, so that makes it hard to go to sleep. But I thought while my mum and brother are asleep, I'd take this opportunity to upload a video, which I didn't do when the house was empty earlier or whatever. But anyway, getting to the point. This is rather like my videos I made a bit earlier when I was talking about how I think Italian football teams, Serie A teams or whatever, should, in my opinion, play younger players and develop the academy and things like that. So I thought I'd make one for Celtic as well, as I support Celtic as well as Italian teams. So, yeah, so basically I think in friendlies, pre-season friendlies especially, and in less important games, I think Celtic should look playing the most young players possible, so they get opportunities to play and feel part of the team, and it may help to retain talent rather than them leave to go to other clubs because they're not getting opportunities to get match experience, and it also may mean that they get opportunities to practice. There is one risk to it, I think, is that they could get injuries in those games. But I do think in games which are not league games or where I think there should be at least a few young players on the bench as well, where they could be brought on as subs. If the game's not really close, if it's a really close game and an important game, then maybe there could be subs on the bench just in case, who might need to be brought on who have more experience. But I think that's part of the game management. That when, I suppose this is just me expressing my ideas, but I don't know if the club will do this, but I'd like to share this idea with Celtic fans, and maybe they could put pressure on the club or tell the club at least about this idea. But yeah, I know it's a simplistic idea in a way, but I think in games where they could bring subs, especially if you're allowed more subs, which are normally allowed nowadays, but even if you're only allowed 3 subs, I think they could bring 3 younger subs and 3 older subs who might need to be brought on if there needs to be more experience. But for some games which are like not that close, where Celtic are either really leading quite a lot and the other team's not likely to catch up at all, or the other way around, where Celtic's unlikely to catch up, or maybe even some games like in the Champions League where it's unlikely we're going to go that far or whatever. Basically, I think they call them dead rubber games, which don't really have as much importance or as much meaning for whatever reason, either because the game's too far away, like there's not enough time to catch up or whatever. If you're like 3 or 4 goals down with 10 minutes, you might as well put some younger players on. Again, if you're winning quite a lot with only 10 minutes to go, you might as well put some younger players on, or in some games maybe take a bit of a risk and put younger players on. But I know that it's really important to get. I really hope Celtic win the league this year coming. So I think it is important to have more experienced players. But sometimes those younger players could surprise people. So they might be. You never know. Like sometimes the younger players might get man of the match. But I think if there are ways to give young people opportunities to play, then it'd be great. And I think it'd be great as well if like the S.N.P, Scottish Nationalist Party, of course, just in case that some people don't know, if parties like that or other parties in Scotland, especially in Glasgow itself, give like as many tax breaks and as much funding as possible to help to provide youth facilities like training academies for young people in Glasgow, so it gives them more opportunities. But hopefully that would benefit Celtic itself, like with tax exemptions as much as possible, obviously legally, but making sure it's done within the law, which I think everything Celtic should be within the law as much as possible. But yeah, I think if there's legal tax loopholes or something, or incentives even, for like the argument being that the point being made that developing younger players helps to get them out of crime, to keep them fit, to stop them from getting involved in crime or drugs or drinking or smoking or whatever, and maybe even improve their diets, maybe even bring in dietitians which can help younger people, because Scotland generally, especially Glasgow, has a problem with things like obesity and bad diets and poor health, unfortunately, and things like that. So it could help Glasgow and Scotland even generally. So I think the S.N.P. and political parties like that should be helping Celtic to, in my opinion anyway, I know I'm a bit biased saying this because I'm a Celtic fan, but because of all the charity work Celtic does as well with homeless and disadvantaged communities. But it would be great to get young people into football, probably both boys and girls, but I'm probably looking at more in terms of the men's team. So I'm looking more at getting young guys into football. So, but also on the women's side as well, on the girls' side as well. Again, it gives them opportunities, keeps them out of trouble, and gives them something to do. Yeah, and it will help them to perhaps develop social skills or improve their diet. Again, it could be dietitians who come in and train, maybe even coaches. Again, those tax exemptions could help bring in coaches or things like that, maybe even if it's spent wisely. But yeah, I think, as I say, basically to sum it up, I think to give young players as much opportunity as possible and come up with creative ideas. As I say, like I like to think that's my dyslexic creativity or imagination. Again, I'd love to see what dyslexic people or people with neurodiverse conditions generally could contribute to both town football and Celtic, as I've talked about before a while back. But yeah, so even if I do say so myself, I think it's a good idea, but I'd love to hear what other people think as well. And I think we'll probably only know if it's a good idea if they try and implement it over time, within a year or two, if it works or not, or even it might take a bit longer than that. But so like in games, as I say, where dead rubber games, where the game is either where Celtic are really leading or Celtic are really behind, to bring on those younger subs who are, so in games where it won't make a massive difference if they do make mistakes. So that's how they learn, by making mistakes, like trial and error, and by being involved in those big games and playing with players who are older than them, because that means you get more experience, you learn a lot from older players. So yeah, I can't think of too much else to say. Like I say, I think it'd be great if the S.N.P., excuse me, and other parties especially in Scotland itself, and in particular in Glasgow itself, where Celtic is based, of course, and that sort of thing, provide as many tax exemptions for Celtic, and then they can bring in sponsors, football pitches, training opportunities, and things like that. And maybe as well as tax incentives, there could also be lottery funding or just general governmental funding, grants and things like that, which help to again bring young people into football, cut crime. But so hopefully it'll be mutually beneficial. It'll be beneficial for the people of Scotland generally, because there'll be less crime, there'll be more young people having things to do, so they won't be involved in, as I say, illicit or illegal activities or things like that. But at the same time, they also get fitter and stronger, and they become parts of the community. And also they could be like educational opportunities and like different things that they get involved in the community as well, where they're taught as young people to get involved in things like volunteering or things like that through the club, so it develop them as well. So in the future, obviously, they can then contribute even more to Glasgow and Scotland generally, and the wider society, especially the communities in which they live. But also it'll benefit Celtic hopefully in the longer run, because they'll be able to have those players which they can either sell on, or they won't have to spend as much money buying players, because although that might take a bit of time, but some of these young players might even surprise people in the games. They might, as I say before, they could be like some of the better players. They might even get man of the match, which would be amazing to see, like younger players getting man of the match awards. So I think it'd be great to see Celtic, as I said with my idea about Serie A or town football, always playing at least 3 under 21 or even under 20 players in all possible senior games, and like encouraging park football, and even like Celtic fans themselves, like Celtic parents trying to get their kids to practice football more, whether it's in the garden or the park or wherever, and like play together and like train each other, because I think younger people will learn a lot from older people and those experiences, and passing on that knowledge. So I hope this all made sense anyway. Some more wacky ideas perhaps, but again, who knows? I think a lot of time people might think an idea is not that great, but I try not to let people's judgment of my ideas or initial judgment put me off too much, because sometimes I think you never know, they could be wrong. So you look at a lot of business people, a lot of people who have done well in different areas, they probably had ideas where people thought they were ridiculous ideas, but when they tried to implement them, they proved. So when they tried to implement them, they proved those people wrong and maybe even proved themselves wrong. And hopefully, it can be better than we expect. But yeah, I think playing younger players will be advantageous in the future. I'd love to know what you think, and I am out. Peace and love.